Okay, this is just going to be a video about how I thought Pretty Little Liars should have ended, because I filmed this whole video of my reaction to the Pretty Little Liars finale, but that is like 2 hours long, so I have to edit it down, which probably will take a long time. It's going to take forever to upload, so I'm making another video in the meantime, and my vacation video will probably come weeks after that, because that's also hours of footage, and my Wi-Fi upload speed is like the worst. It literally takes like 2 millennium for me to upload a video. It's awful. But anyways, this video is going to be about how I thought Pretty Little Liars should have ended. I didn't hate the ending, like a lot of people online are saying. They're like, oh, I hated the ending, this is like the worst writing ever, like Marlene can't write TV shows. I'm just like, she's trying her best. She really had to like slap together some sort of storyline for the last like 2 seasons. Like, she tried her best, and it's like not the worst, honestly. Like, there's a lot of connections throughout these 2 seasons, so like she did pretty good considering the circumstances. I'm not here to hate on her, because I liked the ending, mostly just because I love Troy and she's a great actress, and I loved seeing her play a villain, because that was just amazing, and a British villain on that, I was like, yes, it was everything. But I feel like there could have been way stronger characters that could have been A, and it could have connected every storyline from the beginning. Now, let me just tell you about my #1 theory that I really wanted to be true, but it's sadly not true. I really wanted it to be Caleb and Mona. And now I know everyone's just like, but it can't be Caleb. Caleb's been there from the beginning and he loves Hannah. But does he? Does he really? I would have loved it if at the point that Mona was becoming A, she decided, oh, I'm not good with the technical side, and there's this bad boy at school who seems to know a bit about hacking and is on the darker side, and the sketchier side. I think I could work with him. And she enlists the help of Caleb. And Caleb and Mona work together for all of these years to take down the girls. And I know that's very twisted and sadistic, but that's what we needed for a finale of the show. Like, it would have been so good, because we think that Caleb loves Hannah so much and that they're like endgame. But like, what if they weren't? What if he only got close to her at the beginning because he needed information on how to make their lives awful? Like, Hannah basically will tell Caleb anything. She doesn't really tell many people much because she likes to keep things to herself, but when she tells things, she tells them to Caleb. And that's how Caleb, or A, could have gotten all that information to blackmail them with, because Hannah tells Caleb everything. And A's always been really good with computers and text messages, so it would be really easy for Caleb, who has a lot of knowledge on that, to use that to his advantage. And they always use Caleb to try to figure out where A is or where these A signals are coming from. So if Caleb was A, it would make a lot of sense for him to just be like manipulating the signals or telling them all this false information, because he's the only one who knows what's going on. And you may be thinking, but Caleb has no motive to hurt them. Doesn't he, though? I think everybody likes to forget that in like season 1 and 2, like, the girls were real bitchy, like, snooty princesses. And Caleb, someone who came from, like, no money in a broken family, would be probably really jealous of that, like Mona was. And they could have bonded over that, and bonded over wanting to take these, like, privileged high schoolers down to their level. So Caleb, who's really fed up with all these, like, preppy princesses walking around the school, gets an opportunity to, like, put them in their place. He would probably take it. But I know that it's been pretty obvious throughout the show that Caleb, like, hates Mona, because once she was revealed to be A, he never really forgave her because she hurt Hannah, and he's, like, just been upset about that for years. But what if he was faking it? That would have been, like, such an easy way for, if he was A, for him to just, like, completely write off the fact that he was ever working with Mona, who actually was A. He could just be like, oh no, I hate her. I've hated her for years. You've seen what I've said about her. Like, there's no way I could be working with her. Because Mona did not want to be revealed as A. The game was stolen from her. I don't think that Mona could have done everything in, like, the first for 3 or 4 seasons that she was A by herself. She had to have had some sort of help. And she did, from like Toby and like I think Paige and I think also Lucas, like a few other people. But what if like her one main henchman was Caleb? And when she went down, she didn't want him to go down with her so that he could carry on being A and continue carrying on what they're doing. So he's just put up this front this whole time that he hates her and that he's never forgiven her for what she's done to the girls. But then there's this whole issue with Charlotte taking over the game. But, you know, I'd like to think in my, like, fantasy world that maybe she didn't really take over the game. Like, she did. She took the game from Mona and she started torturing the girls in her own way with the dollhouse and everything. But what if it was Caleb and Mona at the beginning and Caleb and Mona at the end, but they let Charlotte take the game? They were like, okay, Mona just went down for this thing. If A activity starts up again from Caleb, then everybody's going to be very suspicious about how A is still A when Mona is in Radley. So they stop being A for a little bit until, like, by some miracle, someone comes knocking on their door, and that person is CeCe Drake, here to take in all this information and steal the game. Now, Mona is incredibly smart. I don't even believe that in her Radley state she was so out of it that she didn't realize what Charlotte was doing. She's very, like, incredibly genius level smart. So I think that she realized what Charlotte was trying to do and trying to take all this information, because there's no way that Mona knew everything. I strongly believe that she knew that Charlotte was, like, more involved with this than just being a friend, even before it was, like, revealed. I feel like just Mona knows a lot, but she lets Charlotte take all this information and she lets Charlotte run the game. And Charlotte was doing pretty good being A, you know? She was doing a lot of creepy things, putting, like, bones in dresses and, you know, putting razor blades in punching bags. But, you know, she still needed information. And she couldn't get information from Mona anymore because Mona told her everything that she knew. But there was still one more source of information that she didn't know about. I like to believe that Caleb still was taking in information from the girls and secretly giving it to Charlotte because he knew that Charlotte was AD. Like, he was secretly giving her information like A would do. Like, he would, like, give Charlotte little notes to be like, oh, the girls did this, or this is a secret, you can use this. And Charlotte just took it because she was like, I'm not going to ask questions, this is going to help me, someone's trying to help me, like, cool. And she never really dug that far into it, but I feel like Charlotte, if this would happen in this dream scenario, in this crazy theory that I have, that she probably would have figured it out eventually, that, like, Mona was helping her, she would, like, figure out that, like, Caleb was helping, but she wouldn't, like, out them because she knew that they were being, like, helpful to her. But then, finally, Charlotte gets revealed, and the whole A thing is over, but it's not. Mona and Caleb thought that they were, like, done being A once Charlotte was done being A, because they were like, it's been, like, all of high school, they're no longer the preppy people that we used to know. I think I'm okay with, like, letting this go. Because like, even though, in my theory, Caleb, like, did not like Hannah to start with, he, like, grew to like her, but in sort of, like, a sadistic, controlling way, where he was like, I love you and you have to love me, otherwise, like, blah, blah, blah will happen because I'm also A. But then, like, they go to, like, their 5-year time jump, and then Caleb and Hannah have a fight, as we've seen in the show, and Caleb and Hannah, they split. And this causes Caleb to go back to his old ways and tries to figure out another plan in order to torture them all again. And he calls up Mona, and then they start plotting and plotting again. And that starts the new A, the A of season 6 and 7, where Caleb and Mona are trying to just, like, ruin their lives one more time, because even though after all of this that has happened, they still hate them. Caleb hates Hannah after what she did to him, after, like, leaving him and, like, going to go get engaged to Jordan, and Mona still hates them because the girls won't accept her anymore, because Mona, like, believes that she deserves their respect in this, like, theory of mine. I know that in, like, the real show, she 100% deserves their respect because she's done so much for them, but, like, in the same theory, she's done a lot of stuff for them in order to, like, hide the fact that she's A, so she believes that she should earn, like, their respect by now, but she hasn't, so she's mad about that, and Caleb's mad about Hannah, so they go back to scheming, and they go back to planning, and they come up with this idea for a board game. Because in their minds, they think they've played all these games with us and our emotions. They've just used us. Why don't we just use them? But Mona and Caleb both realize that this is also like an addiction, so they can only do it for so long. So when the game's over, they end it. And then no one ever finds out that they're A, because they've always just been so secretful and always so good at covering their tracks so that other people can't tell that they're A, because they've helped them so many times and helped try to take down A. But if they had to get revealed, if this like was an actual thing that like the show was going to do, I would want them to get revealed in like a great season 5 throwback way, where just like Alex did with the whole dungeon area, they set up a dollhouse of their own and they put them all in like chambers where they're like locked up, and then they walk into the room all like strong and sauntering, and then like all the girls see them and they're like, oh my god, Kayla, Mona, you're here, please help us, we have to escape, A has taken us. And they're like, and then they just like evilly laugh and they're like, you're not getting out of this one, girls. And then they reveal that they're A, and then they go on this whole like villain monologue where they're like, you've always been evil. And then they all feel betrayed because they're like, you guys, mostly Hannah would probably feel betrayed because that's her best friend and her boyfriend, like, backstabbing her. That would have been so good, but he didn't do it, it's fine. And then they just, like, reveal that they're A, and it's very dramatic. And, like, I'm a bit evil, so I would love if they just, like, got away with it. If, like, Caleb and Mona, they just kept them there forever, and when they went back to the surface and they saw, like, Ezra and Toby, they're just like, we can't find them, we don't know. And then the police never find them because the police and Rose would suck. And then they just, like, never find them. And then they just get to torture them for the rest of time because they're evil. And that would have been amazing. I would have loved that because it would have just tied in everything from the very, very beginning. Someone that we thought was good and pure, they just backstab everything that we've ever knew, and they've just always been liars and evil. And that would have just been amazing to see. Especially because all of, like, the significant others have been, like, A at some point. Like, we all thought Ezra was A, Toby was kind of A for a while, and then Caleb never had any accusations to being A, and I'm like, Caleb should have been A. He was the most intelligent and the most A-like out of all of them. I really wanted Caleb to be A, and it would have been great if he was working with Mona, so that Mona is, like, the all-time A, and it comes full circle from the very beginning. And I also thought that this also just, like, could have been true just because they've worked together in the past, and it would be really easy for them to just be A, because Caleb is always in the places where A does, like, their shenanigans. Like, whenever something happens because of A, he's usually there. And we saw how easy it was for Mona to take the board game out of Allie's house and just bring it back to her apartment. Like, it was all just so simple. So I feel like they could have easily been A and just pulled it all off. And just the one scene that I still don't get is, like, the scene where Caleb and Mona are, like, I think staking out Sydney, or who they think is Jenna, but ends up actually being Sydney. And then they're both, like, drinking coffee, but they both know, like, each other's, like, coffee orders, like, the amount of sugar to put in each other's coffee. And I'm like, that's way too familiar for two people who barely work together. So it just seemed really suspicious to me that they haven't already been working together, for them to already, like, know what they both like in their coffees. It was just very suspicious. But yes, this is my wild, what I wish the finale was, because I would have felt, like, so fulfilled and, like, shocked to my core if it was Caleb and Mona, because they've just been so seemingly good people that, like, the betrayal that we would feel if they were really A would just be amazing. But they didn't go through with that. Kinda sucks, but, you know, it's whatever. We can't have all these outrageous theories. I'm pretty sure that this theory has a bunch of plot holes in it anyways, but, like, it's whatever. It's my fantasy theory. If in a perfect world they could have done this, I'm pretty sure they could have wrapped it all up nicely too. But they didn't, and that's okay. My Pretty Little Liars reaction to the finale will come out next week, and then my vacation video will probably come out the week after that. But yes, this is my theory. If you think thoughts about this theory, tell me those thoughts. If you agree, disagree, find other evidence to support it, evidence to not support it, I can argue everything. Like, write it in the comments. It'll be fun. I love theorizing things. Because I just love having to think through things. It's like a puzzle. It's like a game. Bye.